big. It went to the.
Hit me!
Episode 289.
With clever meme, with funny tweet, I'll never leave my office seat. Those who think they know what's right, listen on Sundays to NetHeads, all right?
You've got to throw some cold water on this situation. Start talking about nerd stuff.
You know, nerd culture is mainstream now, so when you use the word nerd derogatorily, it means you're the one that's out of the zeitgeist.
System activate.
This is NetHeads with Will Wilkins and Trent Hunsaker. It's a tech podcast. But we are a ton cooler than your typical geek.
You guys rock.
And now, here's Will and Trent.
This is Mark Evan Jackson from Everything. You're listening to NetHeads.
Literally making up how I mix the show right on the spot. Trent, I hope you enjoyed that. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of NetHeads. My name's Will.
And I'm Trent.
If you want to take part in the program, you can. One of many ways. Like, for example, Trent, we are streaming live on we're streaming live on YouTube. We're streaming live on Facebook. And we're streaming live for the first time on our Patreon page, which is patreon.com/NetHeads on there. So I think, at least that's what I think it is. I don't know. But you know what? They've got all kinds of different options and funky town cool ways in order to participate with us. But one of the ones that we watch the most is probably one of the most convenient. I know it's the one that Trent's keeping an eye on for us.
Always.
I kind of look, I'm going to be honest, man. YouTube is kind of like it's like the stepchild now that doesn't get the full attention from new mommy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's the middle child.
It is.
Right?
Yeah. Oh, actually, you know what? Technically, I shouldn't even say YouTube because we're not really live on YouTube. I'm using it unlisted in order to stream on Patreon. So
sure,
because I'm cheap. I'm not paying to do. I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna pay. Not gonna do it. Nope.
No.
By the way,
either.
So the thing I was saying is Twitter. Trent, tell them how they can do that.
Yeah. Just use the hashtag NetHeads on Twitter. I mean, the platform that invented the use of the hash mark for systematically being able to find messages. Just use NetHeads. Or NetHeads, or NetHeads, however you want to do it. And you can tell us how we're wrong, join in the conversation, let us know you're listening, complain, or, you can be like Ash Williams and just give us your thoughts for that literal moment.
Yeah, however the cards may play out, may ply out, if you will. But reach out. Reach out and touch us every once in a while. We like it.
Gross.
No, it's not. I didn't say where. You just don't like being touched. Is that what it is?
Gross.
Okay, we'll just leave it at gross then. Anyway, welcome everybody. It's so nice to see you. It's so nice to be seen. Mario Flores, which is probably potentially Ash Williams on Facebook, Leroy Velasquez, Carrie Lynn, Ryan Connolly, all chilling with us on the Book of Face, my friend. So we're busting out all over, if you will.
It's interesting. So Facebook has come out and said that they want to. I mean, so Facebook currently owns a ton of different like social media platforms, right? They own Facebook, obviously, Instagram, and WhatsApp, three of kind of their bigger ones. And they are working to combine the messaging efforts for all three of those platforms into one.
Oh.
So, the data mining juggernaut continues to force you into giving them what they want.
Yeah, you know, when you follow everything in the news, it's kind of like, and honestly speaking, if you... Because, well, hold on. Let me formulate one concise thought instead of just like
yeah,
stammer on many different approaches here. I don't actively really engage with Facebook anymore. Okay, I'm not seeing your political opinions.
I think you're like most people.
Yeah, I'm not seeing your news story shares. I'm not seeing any of that. Like, my primary focus now is strictly just from kind of like a professional social media approach. I have I set up, even though I have absolutely no need to, other than wanting to keep the two separate, I set up one of those, like a fan, not a fan page, but like for lack of much in the same way Big Brother uses the term celebrity for celebrity Big Brother.
But like a persona page.
Yeah, a persona page. I was going to say a celebrity page, but thank you for saving me from that shame. I appreciate that, buddy.
Yeah.
So I set that up so that way I can share things that I want to share with the rest of the world out there. But I'm not really an active participant. I'm mostly engageable on Twitter. And I am, there was one day my daughter last week was attempting to school me on appropriate use of Instagram. She's like, Dad, you know, it's like, it's all about the gram. You gotta be on the gram.
The gram.
Right? So
I love it.
Yeah, you do it for the gram, Dad. So I did, and so and plus she was offended because there were pictures of my youngest daughter, Blair, and I on there, but not. By the way, it's Instagram.com/netheadww. That'll be important in a second. So my eldest daughter, Emily, she's like, "Why am I not on there? I am hurt." And so we took a picture together, and that's when I like posted, "Oh, she's trying to school me on Instagram, yada yada yada." Well, the other day, she said, "Dad, you know, you're not as cool as you think you are." To which, you know, I would acknowledge, yeah, that's kind of given.
Obviously. That comes with being a dad.
Yeah, pretty much. You know, as the kids may say, that boat has sailed. However, she's like, I just need one more follower, and then I'll be cooler than you. At which point I said, that will not stand. That you can't have that. So I did put it out there into the Twitterverse to please follow me on Instagram. So I am going to be a little more active on the gram now because I just can't. And my daughter's got a private profile too, and so she's got like She had 300 at the time. I had 301. So thank you to the additional 8 people that have listened to my pleas and my requests and have decided to follow me. So thank you very much. And if you're a listener to the podcast and not really a surfer on Twitter, and you happen to use the Instagram, please follow me. It's NetHeadWW on Instagram. I've created the world's lamest brand, Trent. NetHeadWW.
A father's cool clout hangs in the listeners' hands, literally in their phones. Like it's up to them to keep you in the good graces of coolness and your teenage daughter.
Yes. Well, actually, no. Like. I didn't tell her I was like tagging that on almost everything I tweet now, and my wife narked me out with the kid. She came downstairs. By the way, I saw what your dad did on Twitter, and you know what he's done? He's asked people to follow him so that way he'll win. To which point I say, of course.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't I? You know.
Yeah. It's fine.
So that's the ongoing competition in the house. If we want to keep things a little technology based for a moment, Trent. You know that I am a user of the Apples, much to your chagrin.
Yes. Oh gosh, I was forced to have a second Apple computer for a short period of time with my work, and I think I spent more time asking people how to do simple functions on it than actually using it.
How do I do this thing? How do I make that happen? That kind of
Yeah,
thing.
like how? So where's the snippet tool? I want to do a screenshot here.
Oh no,
Where can I just snip it?
no.
Oh,
Trent,
you can't do that.
That's the Apple
You have
key Shift 3 if you want to do an entire screen capture, or it's an Apple Shift 4 or F4. I don't even know which one it is. I just do it automatically now.
And then it automatically saves to a folder that then you have to go in. You can't just like snip it, copy and paste it somewhere.
With the latest version of OS, they've taken it to another level too. It can automatically save, or it'll pop up as a preview, and you can then click on it, and you can determine what you want it. So if I were doing something in order to like quickly send you a screen grab of say something that's suddenly in the news that I was excited about, I could do that instantaneously.
Oh man. Man, they are catching up to Windows XP. I am impressed.
Alt print screen, my friend, used to be my best friend. It's where I live. So I am a user of the Apple. So I have I have had an iPhone for the longest time. I did have some brief dalliances in Androidness, including having the Google Fi service, and I had the Nexus 6P here, which it'll be on eBay soon. It should have been years ago, but doesn't matter. So I've got that, and I got the Apple Watch. Now, one of the people, I don't often talk about my professional work, so the thing I do for a real living, not the wonderful side work I get to do for the man, myth, legend we know as Kevin Smith. And I have been, if you've been following me on social media, you know I've started running again. Well, he thought he would be cute. And mind you, this guy is 20 years my junior.
Oh, Lord.
There is a feature in the activity settings of Apple where you can set a competition going, a challenge, as it were. And I don't
like where this is. I don't like where this is going.
I don't either, because I was running last night and then I was running this morning, and that's just that's madness, my friend. That's what that is. But he has started a challenge with me. Now, I will say, though, the first day he didn't wear his watch, and he didn't understand how the scoring goes. So right now I have, we haven't gotten an update from him yet on today, but currently I have 4 times the number of points he does. So as long as I can keep it going, I'll squash him. Conveniently enough, I did notice earlier today, though, because on the phone I used an app called Runkeeper to store my runs.
Sure.
On my watch, I use an app, the built-in one for I think it's the Nike Run Club or something that came with this watch, or it's just the activity settings. What do I know? So I use that on my watch. Well, I just found out 10 minutes before we started this, I'm actually apparently feeding data from both of them into the activity app, so I may be doubling up on my workout score. But
he's like, "Holy shit!"
Yeah, but you know what? If he doesn't catch it, that's not my bag, man. You know what I'm saying? I didn't do it intentionally, and I can't back down now. I can't do it, Trent.
Right.
I just can't.
So here's an interesting thing. I don't know if you've heard about this, but there is a Xfinity, so Comcast, right?
Yes, I've heard.
Now has a. I mean, if you're the sad thing is it's only available for iPhone users, but they have there is a killer deal on mobile plans, and they're using Verizon towers, right? So they are CMDA. No, what are they? CDSM, whatever. Not the GSN, the other one platform.
You're going nutty with the acronyms, buddy.
But they're using Verizon. Yeah. They're using Verizon's towers, and it's only $12 a gig, or $45 for unlimited, and that's the price.
Oh wow.
Yeah. For unlimited nationwide talk and text. No additional fees up to 5 lines. Like, if I were an iPhone user, this is totally the cell plan that I would be on, because it is insanely affordable. And I think Comcast is just trying to take a I don't even know if I'm assuming they'd have to be taking a hit on this, but due to FCC regulations on being able to share existing towers and stuff, they are able to use who's essentially, their biggest competitor, because Verizon, depending regionally where you're at, is also a internet provider. They're able to use that regulation against Verizon now and have come up with a really affordable plan for anyone on an iPhone. But yeah, if you go to Xfinity.com/mobile, check it out. I had never heard of it. A guy I work with was telling me about it, and I was blown away at how affordable and cheap it was.
Oh, I know they've been pushing it around here. I mean, down.
Have they?
Yeah, everywhere. When I was cord cutting and I was taking all the equipment in. By the way, hi Brian Mallow. I'll hit you up later with that info. He's following along on the stream as well. Used to work with him at Play TV back when we were all streaming our own little video shows,
Shout out, yeah.
Back before broadband was really a thing, we were streaming television because why not? Anyway, the place where I take my equipment back is actually this gigantic, full-fledged Comcast store that's very similar to like an AT&T store or a Verizon store when you go in. And, they've got all the bells and whistles, and they've got your 4K television with the 4K service. I'm sure in your area, Verizon has these kind of stores. So they've got phone, TV, and all that jazz all in one.
Just phone. There's no Verizon television. So that's why I said regionally. It kind of depends on where you're at.
So I've seen it in those places. So they've got this. But the direct comparison is just like on the other side of the shopping center. There's an AT&T store where you can't really tell which one you've walked into unless you look for branding. It's like, wait, am I in a mobile store or am I in a TV store? Same thing when you walk in AT&T. It's like, I used to come in here for my phone, but why are you showing me TV? Because they bought DirecTV. But I know that they've been doing this. But then in the long run, they're going to run into issues if they really are undercutting things in order to get people on the service.
Right.
Because, for example, DirecTV Now, which is my option for getting television when I did cord cut, they're about to have a very bad quarter, and they're reporting losses because they had an introductory prices that in some cases were like $10 a month for people, and now that offer and those people are falling off those plans, and they are losing subscribers, even though their cost is comparative to Hulu and to YouTube for live TV. So it's just an interesting concept. People are just like, okay, well, I was with them for the bargain, but now that the bargain's gone, I'm out. So,
Well, yeah, and I don't know, there is something when you make it even if it's just having to load an app, right? That much more difficult to access live TV, you realize how much you're just going to it out of habit, right? Whereas where you have these other options for on-demand viewing, and you're thinking more about what you're watching, you're literally removing the idiotness of the idiot box, right? And I think people are noticing that, right? And that's the problem that I think a lot of people are gonna, the distribution of television is gonna have to deal with is as they've got to make it so simple, and whether it's having Alexa just turn on directly or setting it to whatever. I have no idea. But I really do. I think that's a huge thing because, for an introductory price, you can get into it. And then when it comes to re-sign up, you're like, gosh, I only watched, 5 things this past year or whatever, that I actually wanted to see. So I can live without that.
Yeah. And right now I'm living in a world where I'm just sticking with it because of the convenience. My wife, big baseball fan. So,
sure. And that's just it with sports. That's kind of the last hope for live television itself, because everyone else is teaming up with whether it be Facebook or YouTube or Twitch or this, that, and the other to broadcast their live events. It's interesting because I know there are a lot of options now through these individual sports packages that you can get for just the online versions of them, and they're really interesting because since they're giving just rather than giving the TV broadcast, they're giving a in-arena broadcast. So at that point, it's no longer competition with the actual television broadcast, so that there are no longer blackout dates for your regional teams, right? For whatever X channel station has the broadcast rights for this region. Well, since you're not getting that broadcast, you're getting a direct to web experience. That when they go to commercial break, you don't see the commercials, you just see what's going on the jumbotron, right? You're seeing the kiss cam during the commercials instead.
Oh, that's an experience I would much more enjoy.
Exactly. And if you're say like if you're living in Utah and you're a big Utah Jazz fan, there's a way higher incentive to go through this, because the Jazz games will be canceled in this region if you're watching NBA League Pass or whatever through television subscription service, because the channel has rights to that broadcast, right? Anyway, it's very interesting to see how even now the sports realm is coming up with other ways to reach audiences outside of television. And on top of that too, there I know with NBA, they have a 360 cameras set up on the court as well. So if you want to plug in your VR headset, you can go watch the game completely courtside.
I think there was a Verizon commercial using Adam Levine and Jonah Hill. I probably mentioned this before on the show. And that they're doing just that. They're using their phones as VR headsets with the add-ons, and they're conversing with one another, and they're looking at each other's avatars when they're doing it. Just one step closer to Ready Player One.
Exactly.
I really think my next exploration is going to be in a rooftop HD antenna and the Amazon DVR, because I'm very Fire TV Amazon based here anyway.
Yeah, totally.
And that way you're getting all the local television that, well, in my case, instead of the San Francisco Bay Area, because it's flatlands and like Stockton and Sacramento, I would get stations from those areas instead. But I never watch local news, so what am I missing out on? And it has the benefit of just recording. So you can access these special DVR boxes to watch live TV. That takes up one of your available tuners, or it just records it. And to me, that just seems smart, because everything else, I've watched my wife's viewing habits now. She watches Ellen. I can get that on the HD TV. She watches I shouldn't narc her out. I should just say she watches some things that typically you can only find on channels or in syndication. And and then
and
everything else is deferred viewing by a day on Hulu.
Yeah. Yep.
Almost literally.
It's funny. The second you brought up the Fire recast antenna, like literally right before you mentioned it, Ryan Connolly asked on Twitter if anyone had looked into that yet.
That's exactly. Well, I have been keeping an eye on it, and for me, it's very difficult for me to jump in to the waters on a first generation product. It's just,
I'm with you on that.
It's begging for problems, so like, it's like, okay, well, they can have the PS4, but I'll wait for the PS4 Slim because they've worked out some things and that kind of thing. This is just a direct comparison. I may even be talking foolish terms, but I do want to get into it, and for that reason, because it puts all of your investment in up front, but there's no monthly costs, and you're getting what the channels are required to send out anyway. And like one of the things that we do, because one of the things we use the DirecTV Now for is the DVR function for the same type of shows I just mentioned. Like, let's say my wife watched Dr. Phil. Well, because of the package in our region, technically I don't know what channel Dr. Phil runs on if I had Xfinity, but it's not available on the 4 major broadcast networks. So I believe my wife actually watches it one day behind via a DVR recording from the whatever Oprah's channel is, the OWN. So it's through that, and it's delayed a day. So she's already kind of doing what we would do anyway.
Right.
And their cloud DVR. This is I'm going to tell you the reason why DirecTV Now people are vacating. They were willing to put up, at least if I take my experience and I translate it to the market, they are frustrated by a mediocre app that runs on Roku or Fire TV or maybe even potentially Apple TV, any one of those services. But it's a mediocre app that has issues. Their DVR is a cloud-based DVR. There are many times I either have to restart the Fire TV service, or I have to.
So that it will load what's been recorded. Oh,
not
my
even
God.
what's recorded, just even TV, just for the app to function. Something in the
Yeah.
cache is corrupted, or something along those lines, and it's a frustrating experience. Not to mention, it's very difficult to have an app called DirecTV Now, and then it's going to take 60 to 90 seconds for anything to load. It doesn't feel very now, is what I'm saying. You know what I mean?
Okay.
It's like,
Yeah.
It's DirecTV eventually.
Right. Exactly. Again, making it that like distancing itself even further from the true television experience. Right. Ryan Connolly, who is a Geek Squad employee, says that they've set up a few for clients at work, and that they have 4 tuners available. The
Right.
recast.
Yes, they do. There are units that have and also, you know, varying levels of hard drive size to compensate. And that's the kind of thing I would be going full bore with the 4 tuners and all that jazz, because
Oh yeah.
why miss an opportunity to record something? And so naturally I would go headstrong in, and then eventually I would probably discover that at most I'm recording 2 things at once.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
If ever. Exactly. Yeah, that there's competing like stuff that you can't get somewhere else.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
and so it's interesting exploring in this world, because I think it's almost been a year now that I gave up on cable, and thank goodness I did, because when times were tight, I didn't have to look at that bill and think, holy moly, I'm gonna crap myself. But
Yeah.
but where like with the Comcast deal that you mentioned, and mind you, I don't want to get involved with Comcast. I didn't like their business model and their fees for television. But like I have got at this time, and you know it's only going to grow. I have to support 3 people on my mobile account.
Oh,
it's myself. It's a family plan, because I've
Yeah,
got my
right.
wife, myself, my eldest daughter. I really should figure out a better way to put that, by the way, because I make it sound like, you know, and here's my octogenarian daughter, because you know she's living life backwards.
And my teenage daughter.
Like Benjamin
Sure.
Button. Oh, that would be much easier.
Yeah.
I should do that. Thank you for making a very common sense thing very easy for me to understand, Trent.
Yeah. No, it's fine.
I don't mean to terrify you, man, but this first 20 minutes has been very tech. I know we're a tech podcast.
Sure. Yeah,
Or
absolutely.
supposedly. We're under the category, by the way, of gadgets, which I don't know if that's referring to like the things we talk about, or
or if we are a gadget.
We're living gadgets. Is
Yeah,
what I'm saying.
we're like a philosophical stone's throw from like just being tools.
Well, there are many on the internet that would agree we are a total set of tools. So
That's interesting though, because when I was looking at that Comcast plan, it's so anti what Comcast television and even their internet is all about, right? Because I have to pay an additional fee, you know, every month, just because I'm using over a terabyte of internet data every month, right? And there's nothing like that in this mobile plan. So I don't know how long it's going to exist or what, but it does just seem like a nice just twist of the knife into their competition. Which is good, right? Like anything that can help lower prices for the consumer when it comes to these monopolized highways, I think is a good thing.
Well, that's the way, Trent. That's the way competition is supposed to be in business. You're supposed to
You're supposed to
screw the other guy and undercut them to the point where prices get leveled. Like
right.
Something you wouldn't even think about, like a wholesome American product like the Harley-Davidson motorcycle, right?
Right, yeah.
They're having financial issues because of the tariffs that have been put out. I myself, I wasn't directly affected, but another way that the market is affected, artificial turf. Now, I know this sounds stupid, but do you know where the majority of artificial turf is made in the world? Or artificial grass. So, like, you want to put in a fake lawn.
Yeah. I have no idea. Sri Lanka?
Made in China.
Oh, sure.
And because of that, you would think, okay, they had the lowest price, and then they were getting tariffed and marked up. So now we have the opportunity for the American businesses that are doing it to actually compete. But no, the price from the product from China actually went above market value, and they adjusted to match.
Yeah,
so it didn't
right.
benefit the consumer. What we're talking about here is exactly the opposite, and what you want and what you expect, and that's that in order to get a leveled price on the market, everyone discovers what the true competitive threshold is. Their trade-off of price versus value perceived. And once you hit that, everything then competes. We saw it early on with the mobile markets. They would always. It was free nights and weekends when you would talk. It was interesting seeing cell phone businesses evolve, because first it was about the minutes you use. Then they figured out, instead we can make all our money dinging them for text messages.
For texts,
now
right,
it's all about the data, and so and we don't really have much competition there. So now Comcast stepping in and doing this in a way to where they can help bring these prices down. They'll help restabilize the market and make things a little more tolerable for the consumer. But
no, you're right, and it's interesting. This is why this regulation has been set up, right? So that, like, look, if you have the bandwidth on an existing tower, you have to be able to rent that out to someone to use it, right? And that's the problem that we have in not having that same kind of regulation when it comes to hardwire data, right? Because for internet service providers, essentially you've got like the 4 big providers, and they've already staked their claims on their regions or whatever. Rarely do you find, even in New York, right? Rarely do you find an area that's accessible by more than 2 different internet service providers, right? And because they don't have that option of being like, well, if you have the bandwidth, you have to be able to cater to these people or whatever. The cost is so much to go in there and actually lay fiber or data lines that everyone has just said, well, we've got our spot, we're going to stick with it. Everyone else can not encroach on ours, we won't encroach on theirs, and this, that, and the other. And so until we see something like that happen for internet service, man, like I already feel like I pay, it's my highest bill of everything. Of all my bills, my internet is the highest bill I have, more than my power here in my home. Like my internet is the highest I have.
With us, it's the I think the highest bill would be the family plan that I mentioned, and then it would be the internet if you consider the combination of all the services I'm subscribed to. And because of the number of people I had streaming in the house, I exceeded monthly the 1 terabyte Comcast limit. But I mentioned Project Fi before by Google.
Sure.
That too is an incredibly cost-effective service. You can have, I think the basic plan at the time I was at, it was like $50 for the most basic data use. And if you didn't use it, it rolled over. There was a point, like my first bill was $50, and then there was the longest time where I was paying like 25, 32. It would be variable, but it was still under that initial because it was a common sense plan, and they too were just reusing, or actually I think what they did is they kind of did a joint partnership with T-Mobile and Verizon to kind of spread the love and piggyback on services that way.
Right. Well, so another thing that I wanted to talk about, because it's very interesting, talking about, just about like all the different ways that we can get, stuff delivered to us, whether it's Hulu, whether it's Amazon Prime, this, that, the other. And within the filmmakers wheelhouse, right, there was a big push for people to go and save the Filmstruck platform, right? Like people are saying, no, this is a really good platform. It's got films that are the Criterion collection that is essential to our culture. And these are all films from like the 100 must-see lists or whatever, this, that, and the other. Well, now Criterion has picked up that flag, and April 8th, they're going to be launching their own service called the Criterion Channel. They're going to have their entire library on there. They're going to start having original programming as well. Additionally, they're going to have like their master's classes. If you've ever watched some of those before, they're really, really good. And they're doing it right in that if you subscribe before a certain date, you can get it for $9.99 a month instead of $10.99 a month. So it knocks off $10 essentially over the year. It's so that's going to be launching. If you want to jump in on that, April 8th. I think I might do this one actually. like there's so many times that I want to, I hear about a film or whatever. Oh, especially in listening to like Smodcast, right?
Ooh.
And when you hear like Kevin and Scott go off about films or whatever that I haven't seen forever. I'm like, oh yeah, I do want to watch Lady Hawk again.
Yeah.
No, I'm not saying that that's part of the Criterion collection, but it's one of those. I listen to a lot of film podcasts too. Like I listen to one with Paul Scheer and Amy Nicholson, and they're just going through the 100 best films list. And they watch it, and then they talk about it, and then they decide, if they think it should be on the list or not. The only way that I would be able to follow along with that, if I hadn't seen the films or whatever, because I listen to it just out of the films that I've seen. And there are a lot on there that I haven't. I don't know. For $10, I don't know. It might be worth it for me.
There are always so many different ways we can fill extra time as long as we've got access to that media. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and that's just it. Like once providers understand, right, or maybe not providers, but distributors realize that when you make something like the price affordable enough and the access easy enough, people just stop pirating.
Yeah. Right?
because it's more of a pain in the ass to try and go through the hoops to steal it than it is to just have it in a good usable platform.
Oh yeah, exactly. I am completely with you there, especially if you can subscribe to something and get access to, like, you know what, I haven't seen Zardoz ever since I was a kid, and I want to see Sean Connery running around in a diaper. Can I find that?
Wait, what is? I've never heard of Zardoz.
No, not Zardoz. Zardoz. Just look it up. I don't want to get into it. Sean Connery in a diaper. Let's just leave it at that. The Rick and Morty episode where I think it was the Ricks Must Be Crazy. No. That was the one with the power blocks. The one where they go to the planet that's run by the women creatures, and remember Morty makes a kid. I can't remember the name of the episode, but there's a gigantic head that comes floating through, and that distributes. I can't believe I'm saying this out loud. That distributes all the sex bots.
Yep.
That's a direct lift from Zardoz.
Okay.
Once you see imagery from that film, you're like, oh, that's where that was from, kind of thing. That was the Szechuan sauce of season 1.
Okay.
So, yeah, it is amazing how much you can get by without actually having real TV services we used to know it. But I kind of worry about some of the other companies coming in because, like, I myself am even starting to get at a subscription threshold where I'm like, I'm not sure I want to subscribe to anything anymore.
Yep.
And that's why Disney is putting so much effort into sweetening the pot with, like, Marvel-specific shows on some of these characters that we haven't gone in depth with because they don't get their own movies, kind of thing.
Yep.
Vision and Scarlet Witch what's the other one? Is the Falcon and Winter Soldier, I think.
Yeah.
Are they buddying up?
I don't know. It wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah. So they're making all these efforts, but I mean, like, I don't know if it's going to be enough. Like, I'm already on the line for CBS because they've got Star Trek Discovery, and I know they're offering other unique content, but it just doesn't appeal to me.
I know. Yeah. Well, and CBS, I don't know. I think that history is going to remember them as missing the boat because they didn't opt in to, as the other networks did, to purchase Hulu, right? And so you do have to jump through those extra hoops to try and get their programming, whereas ABC, NBC, Fox all just bought into Hulu and became, partners in it.
I don't think there's any polite way to say this, so I'm just going to put it out there. I don't think CBS gives a crap, Trent, and the reason why I don't is because they are very set and they're very happy with their audience.
Because their audience is so specific.
Yes.
And it truly is. My parents are their audience outside of Star Trek, right? Star Trek is what's trying to get you and I to be their audience.
Mm-hmm.
But you're exactly right. And the shows that they air do so well within their audience because they know their audience.
They brought back Magnum PI, and it's getting another season. Do we really need to go any further here?
Oh, that's awesome.
And Big Brother is probably so cheap to produce they don't give a squad of having it
it
fill
doesn't
in.
matter. Yeah.
You know, but that is, see, that's part of the beauty of the streaming world too, though, is because like I'm woefully behind on Celebrity Big Brother because I am a Big Brother addict. I appreciate the bizarre, weird game it is. I'm not into Survivor or the other types of games, but for some reason, Big Brother and its fishbowl perspective, I enjoy because really, when you isolate people, they just seem to go nutty. They just get weird.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a demented Lord of the Flies thing. I really wish they wouldn't use the term Celebrity Big Brother for their celebrity editions because, like, the only two names of real note to me on, like, the entire cast were Kato Kalin and Tom Green. Maybe Joey Lawrence, okay? But that's yeah, exactly. That's stretching it. But now
it should be more like where are they now, celebrity?
Exactly. It's just like
Big
it's
Brother,
like,
right?
Yeah. Where were they now? They're here, Celebrity Big Brother. But that's too long of a title, and it doesn't fit well in TV Guide. Or I guess are there still newspapers running? Because I remember my grandparents would never buy TV Guide. They would only rely on the
and
newspaper
go through the newspaper.
Insert.
Yeah.
Like my dad, I remember him sitting down. He would get the newspaper, looking, and like, "Oh, what are we gonna watch this week?" And it's like, why don't you just get TV Guide? Don't need to. It's in the paper.
It's in the paper, and the paper's already coming to the house. So why spend? You know, if I'm getting it through subscription, probably like 50 more cents an issue. To get that. Yeah, I don't know. Our newspaper was growing up was so small that was not broadcast, like put in the newspaper.
Gotcha. They're like, yeah, we couldn't find one other guy that would come in for free to do it. And, networks won't give us to it, so to hell with it. I could support that.
But I do remember when I'd go to Salt Lake to visit my grandparents. Yes, that is how we would find out what was on, or what they would find out what was on television was in the newspaper.
Perfect. Well, that's the way it should be, Trent.
Sure.
I even remembered. Well, no, I think it depended on how things went, whether we got TV Guide or not. So there was economic impact even in our home.
Sure.
So, but what do you expect? A woman raising a kid on her own, right? I mean, my dad was there. I'm not saying he wasn't, but he just wasn't there. You know what I mean?
But your mom was doing the work.
Yeah. So anyway, occasionally it would be like, okay, cool, we're gonna get the subscription to TV Guide, and then occasionally it was like, well, there's the newspaper insert, roll with it. Nowadays it doesn't even matter. You can just look it up on the internet, right? If you got the internet. Who doesn't have the internet now? That's the real question.
Well, and the funny thing is, like, I got a text from my mom last week that was like, hey, we've got an appointment to see the ENT that you went to for your surgery. Your dad's got an appointment. Where is it at? And I tried describing it to her, and she's like, well, can you give me an address and I can put it in my phone?
Wow.
And I said, yeah, just Google Gordonwood ENT and it'll come right up. And her response was, oh, I forget that. Okay, yes, I'll do that.
Well, it's learning a new thing, but isn't life so much more convenient now that you can do it? It's like I don't need to worry about where I'm going. For 90% of what I'm looking for, I'll be able to find it because of the GPS.
I forget who the comedian was, and it's an older joke from a few years ago, but it just resonated with me so strong. Something about, like, can you imagine that there was ever a time where if you didn't know who Tom Petty's backup guitarist was, you would have to actually find someone who knew who it was and then ask them who it was?
Oh, God, yeah. It's like it used to be like a late night session. It's like, hold on, wait. Yes. I know a guy. He knows this. He might still be awake. Hold on.
Exactly. But whereas now, like stupid shit that has no bearing on whether or not you know it or not is wholly accessible.
Oh yeah.
For pretty much anything.
10 minutes after this podcast is over, whole thing is over, Trent, you're going to be so knee-deep in Zardoz that isn't even funny. More so than you probably should be. And that's because of the convenience of the internet.
Hopefully I'll end up being, diaper deep in Sean Connery.
Oh, there you go. Hey, look, you're even retaining information. So
yes.
Proof that maybe the convenience isn't making us dumber. At least that's what we hope. Trent, I've had a wonderful time talking about tech, but now it is time to pat ourselves on the back.
Oh yeah.
Well,
Give ourselves a nice tush push.
Little bit. Let me explain. And mostly because I want to make sure people are aware of this. You're going to anyway if you use like Google News, and if you've ever had an interest in Kevin Smith, then it might pop up in your For You kind of thing, and you're going to start to hear some of it. And I've already seen the story spun two ways. So let me roll this back. Kevin Smith and Mark Bernardin have a podcast and a YouTube show that's done at the Scum and Villainy Cantina in Los Angeles. Which is very similar to a place of scoundrels and never mind. I'm not saying it's a Star Wars bar. I'm not saying that.
No.
Right? I'll leave it at that.
Legally,
so that's
it is not a Star Wars bar.
So that's where they do the show, and the video is produced by the owner of the cantina, J.C. Reifenberg, great guy.
Sure.
And then the video gets posted, and then I get the audio. And so I get the audio, and it's funny the way things happen, because up until this time, no one has said anything. And mind you, this show was recorded Tuesday of last week. So a week ago yesterday. And I think we finally got it sometime on Saturday. And, me being me, it's not like, oh, well, the video is in, or we got it Sunday. The video's in, I better process this right away. I was like, no, I got a Smodcast to release. That's Tuesday's work.
That's a problem for Tuesday, Will.
Exactly. Monday, Will, he's got the Smodcast, and we'll just worry about that, or Sunday, Will.
Totally.
Now, no one has said anything, and I'm doing my regular thing. And mind you, like on our Patreon page, there's one thing I did that it was video of me kind of walking through the process of what I do for posting podcasts and various other things for Smodcast. I think I was doing Hollywood Babylon, maybe.
Okay.
I don't know. And I thought it would be really neat. And it's something I can only do when I know there aren't going to be there have been no edit requests, for example.
Sure.
Or it's there's not a like, hey, could you listen to this and make sure it seems okay kind of thing.
Yeah.
I just can't put it out there. So it won't be a frequent thing, but I'll do it whenever I can. And as I understood it, this one was clean, but I'm like, it's too much work because I'm taking audio from a video and then I'm processing it and I'm doing all that jazz. Still, no one has said anything. Now, early on, in case people don't know, in another just wonderful example of Hollywood nepotism, most of the news stories that you'll potentially read on smodcast.com over the last 6 months, most of them come from this guy, okay?
Yes.
This gentleman right here writes them. He says, what am I supposed to be writing? Spit out a couple stories. Believe it or not, Trent, apparently I'm an editor-in-chief.
Okay? Yes, you are.
I'm the editor-in-chief of Smodco News. Let me put that on a business card.
Yeah, put it on your CV.
So a long time ago, I think we all recognized, or by all of us, meaning you and I, we recognized the fact that one of the beautiful things of Fat Man on Batman, which is now Fat Man Beyond, in case I said it wrong, but hey, the host kind of squishes that one too sometimes.
Yes, it's habit.
Yeah. That is the show where things of note can get into the news cycle, okay? Something that is said by either Kevin Smith or Mark Bernardin may get picked up. Now, you may not see them on conventional news, but you'll see them on like Screen Rant. You'll see them on Comic Book Resource, comicbook.com. Sometimes it'll get to Deadline or one of the other ones. But it is a show that generates buzz, okay,
for sure.
of some time. And so when we first were lucky enough to be able to engage you for writing, one of the first things you said was...
is there any way I can get the things, the day before it's released, because then we become the source and we can have a synergistic release of, hey, here's some really interesting news that's newsworthy. Here's the full thing at this podcast that's been released.
Yeah, and here is our news story covering it. I mean, we've got a news section.
Yes.
And so you would think we as the gatekeepers of the news and of the content, we may have an ability a little bit sooner than other people to run a story on it, right? And distribute it through social media and start awareness that way. It's been kind of hit or miss trying to do. So we the plan was Sunday night to Monday, because there was no Babel, we'll release Smodcast, and then we'll release Fat Man Beyond. Now, like I've said a few times, nobody has mentioned anything, to like look out for in this one.
Right.
And mind you, I don't expect this to come from Kevin Smith. Kevin Smith does his thing. I expect it along the chain. And I'm not saying anybody didn't do something here. I'm just saying it's like nobody's thinking about it, and probably they assume the guy that produces the audio is listening to the whole thing, which going back to that video I mentioned, as a Patreon subscriber, you can see it. If you go back, it's I don't have that luxury necessarily all the time. If it's a 2-hour podcast, know what I'm saying? So leave it at that.
It's a lot of time.
It's a bit of time to invest in something when, sometimes you get something and it's like, okay, we got to turn this around. We got to get it out now. Okay, let's go ahead. Can you drop this tonight? Can we release tomorrow morning? Can we do? It's like, oh yeah, I can do that, but I ain't listening to the whole damn thing right now. I'm gonna listen to it the same way everybody else does, because naturally I want my downloads to count in the stats. Because
exactly. Yep. Yeah. And you've got the ready delivered podcast, subscription in name how you get your podcasts here, and that's the easiest way to do it.
Right. Now, part of the audio processing procedure is to kind of try and make sure that you got a good level sound across the board. So that way your items that are spoken low are coming up and as listenable as the items that are spoken high. And so that people aren't adjusting their volume up to hear somebody talking, and then the next guy comes in and blows out your eardrums.
Yes.
So I'm doing a spot check, and I just happen to click. And in that moment I click, I hear... And that's when they see Dark Side. I'm like, what?
Wait, what?
Exactly. I literally stopped.
Wait, what?
So then I ran it back to the beginning, to the origination of whatever story was being told. Because I'm like, why am I hearing about Dark Side? Why am I hearing about the Lord of Apocalypse?
Yeah.
One of the biggest badasses in the DC universe. And of course, I look at the synopsis and I see, wait, it's mentioning Justice League. And I remember, if you were unfortunate enough to see Batman v Superman, then there's a dream sequence at which Bruce Wayne sees like a decimated and scorched earth with the gigantic symbol for Dark Side right there. And so we're like, ooh, Dark Side, we're all freaking out, right? So I hear this, and so I run it back, and I run to the starting point of the story, and I listen. Literally, Trent, had there not been arms on the side of this chair, I would have fallen out of it.
Just right out of the damn chair.
It's like, holy crap, how has nobody mentioned this is in here? And then instantly, finally, first moment of enlightenment ever, I grabbed the clip and I literally sent it to you.
Yep.
Literally. You may have been asleep for all I gave a crap at the time.
I was brushing my teeth, getting ready for bed. I listened to it while I was doing my nightly constitutional from all the potatoes I ate.
You were performing your ablutions and going to bed.
Yes.
So we started the things moving, and naturally it didn't release on Tuesday. It came out. Oh no, it did. It did release Tuesday. We were originally going to do it Monday. Instead, it came out Tuesday. This is the first time I've ever had the balls to withhold content because I'm like, oh, no. We're getting ahead of this one. And we're not just talking about that. We're talking about then having to re-edit the YouTube video to post things up. We're talking about you writing the story and getting enough content, which, by the way, great job, as always, of filling in with extra little bits of seasoning for the story.
Oh, thank you.
The little extra things thrown in, like one of the things that's mentioned in this story. By the way, if you don't know what I'm talking about and listening to this podcast, how is that possible?
Right? Yeah. How did you make it here but not there?
Right. Exactly. Although I'm sure there are people like, well, I don't listen to those. And sir, it's nice to have met you. You one person.
Yeah.
So what happens is, the long story short, I won't tell how it happens, and I won't say the content, but basically Kevin got insight into what Zack Snyder's vision would have been for the Justice League movies. Not just Justice League that we got, but a second one and a third one. And it was a big concept. It was, but you, as he said, there was a vision there. And it sounded exciting. And there are other extra tidbits that drop in this. Like I said, it's things that would hit the news cycle. I knew it would. And when I say that, I mean, on Google News, there's a section like For You, and it knows I'm a Kevin Smith fan, so these things pop up.
Correct.
And often I will have in the past dropped Fat Man Beyond, and then I'll wait. I'm like, within 2 days, this is going to pop up in here once I hear it and identify it after the fact, much to your chagrin. So we got ahead of it. We even put together, I put together a promotional item for Instagram stories so we could tweet to that would link straight to the iTunes download for it.
Yep.
A massive coordination for once. And I don't know how, dude, but we pulled it off. It actually worked. So much so that I sent comicbook.com and Comic Book Resource. I'm like, I thought you guys might be interested in this, and sent it to them. Which is always, for me, it's a little, I don't know, it's not really a twist to the knife because they're going to pick up on it anyway. I mean, there are literally publications online and otherwise that do specifically have people probably, or they themselves just are fans of, they'll listen to Fat Man Beyond to see if there's anything to run in there.
Yep.
They really do. And this time we really got ahead of it. So the thing that I'm most interested now is to find out if there truly was value in that extra effort.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Especially to see if what they always say, the source is always Fat Man on Batman, right?
Fat Man Beyond.
Yeah, thank you. See what it's habits.
Yeah. 230 episodes of one way, man. I understand.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see if we're the news section for those people at least is helping to generate those leads or not, or if they're still just listening to the podcast or not. And going through it, like they always are anyway. It's interesting because I just spot checked into one that was covering it. Screen Rant was, and it was so interesting to read it because, I mean, in a journalistic endeavor or how it would be categorized, they weren't reporting. They took a little bit of what was reported on, right? Kevin Smith said this about blah 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 blah, and then the rest is speculation, right? Of what the author thinks. And that is an editorial, right?
Isn't that an op-ed piece?
Exactly. And so to me, it's so interesting because I feel like there is a correlation between the problematic, the massive problem that our culture has in quote unquote fake news, and the fact that we are kind of conditioned to think that anything that is produced from a quote unquote news site is news, right? When in actuality, it's probably most of the time it is someone's opinion or speculation about something with a little bit of news mixed in, right?
And it's funny you mentioned the Screen Rant piece because like I said, I've seen this reported two ways now. The first was just a straight up, Kevin, like I did on the Instagram thing, spills the tea on what Zack Snyder's vision for Justice League films was. The Screen Rant one was instead piggybacking on another trend right now, which are people wanting to see the Zack Snyder cut of the Justice League film. And that was the approach they first went with. And he said, it'd be cool to see that. But it wasn't like the driving dialogue in that portion that he was talking about. So they were picking one piece and they were building their narrative around that.
Exactly. And it's interesting too because on a previous episode of Fat Man Beyond, when Justice League came out, Kevin said, I would love to see the Snyder's cut of this to see how it was different or whatever, which was picked up by other places saying Kevin Smith wants to see blah, 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 blah. So it's funny that that's the piece that this author decided to hone in on, because that part was not the news, right?
It's also old news the way you just described it.
Exactly. Like in journalistic writing, you have the inverted pyramid, right? You have the very most important things at the very top. And then as the piece goes on, less important things filter down, right? That was the very last thing in the piece, was that Kevin would like to see it, a cut of it. That was the very last sentence written.
Oh, yeah. I thought you were,
in our version of it,
when you
right?
said the inverted pyramid, I thought that was like redvining or something.
Oh,
Or
yeah. So is that
Twizzlering.
so? How do we which one opens up to receive the other one?
Yeah, exactly.
No, it's just funny, like that was not the news, but it did generate a different title for Screen Rant than everyone else that was actually reporting on the news part.
Well, and we do actually see this a lot, depending on how much you look on different news websites. And it's interesting that I think it's not The Hill. I think it's thinkprogress.com. If they have an article, one of the things they'll say near the bottom or one of these places, they're like, don't read what Silicon Valley wants you to see, even though, like, realistically, like, I just go to Google News. That's what I look at. But the way our news cycle is now and the way things are so geared for online, we're trapped in this world now where the op-ed piece often comes through as news.
Yes.
And that's just
agreed.
It's not the case. And also the way the news gets reported is very frustrating because it seems like we're going to go with a misleading headline that does it's not dishonest, but it's not completely truthful because it's eye-grabbing and it'll get clicks. I can't remember the name of the guy. I think his name is Whitaker. He's the acting AG for the FBI, right?
Okay.
And at a news conference, which, by the way, the internet's had fun making fun of the poor bald guy sweating like crazy. I've been in meetings like that, guys. It's not funny.
Yeah. There's a reason I always have a bandana hanging out of my back pocket. At a gas station a couple of weeks ago, a lady asked, like, "Are you in a gang?" I said, "No, I'm obese."
Exactly.
I needed to, like, wipe the sweat off my face.
No, ma'am, I just came from doing yard work, or I just got done climbing a flight of stairs. Take your pick.
Or it's cold outside and I walked inside where it was warmer and my body immediately reacted poorly.
All right. Because you're thinking, wow, it's cold out here. And then you walk inside and you're like, my God, why is it like molten magma in here? See, you're with me. It's like,
Totally.
Environmental controls, like in the professional environment during the winter, are murder.
Oh, I have a desk fan that runs year round, and I'm sure everyone hates it.
Yeah, but you know what? It's like we can't help it. I'm sorry.
Nope.
Your choice of heat setting. It's like, haven't you people heard of a blanket? You could have a throw. You throw it anyway.
I always say, you can at least put a jacket on.
Yeah, I can't get away from the heat.
I am in a button-down short-sleeve shirt. This is as dressed down as I can get at work.
Yes. Anything else, and it's an HR issue. But my only recourse is now to get rid of pants and shirt, and nobody wants that.
I'm willing to do.
Yeah. But you're not willing to see that, so let's move on. But with the Whitaker thing, everybody was reporting in the news that he says that the Mueller investigation is wrapping up soon and a report, shortly after. When actually what he said during the press conference was, I think the special counsel's investigation will be wrapping up soon, and I would hope we would see a report a few weeks after that. Think, hope. These aren't facts.
Yeah.
They're just as much op-ed as anything else. So we really do have a greater problem with the news cycles that have been impacted by the online obsession with news now and adoption. Which, by the way, as long as we're tooting our own horns, if you do have an Apple product, very soon there will be an announcement that there will be a Smodco News channel on Apple News. So
yes, which, in classic Apple fashion, was no small task of getting set up.
Oh no, it's still in process, my friend. It's still in process. And you think automation would be on our side? Like I'm using API access to automatically go, and they're like, your last 20 articles will go up, and I'm like, those aren't the last 20 articles. Neither here nor there. I gotta overcome one hurdle before I can get over the next.
Exactly. Yeah.
So anyway, all that said, not trying to toot our own horns, but I will say that Justice League Into the Snyderverse
Oh,
That was
brilliant.
this guy right here. And I literally,
Brilliant.
I am not kidding. It literally just popped into my head sending this guy a text message about it. That's all it was.
And we made it happen.
Yeah, so much so that I'm like, oh my God. I think I may have even said in the exchange myself, my God, that title's genius, which really you shouldn't do about your own ideas. But,
No, it was you said I'm really proud of the title.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a little.
And then I said that's because it's brilliant.
Oh, okay, good. So there was it was more of a humble brag situation instead of a right out boasting of the genius of it.
Totally. Yes.
You know what I love about cutting between you and I is sometimes if I'm in the right position, we look like the weirdest morph cut in the world.
Yes.
You know what? I don't know that I've got anything else to address this particular issue. Like if we were to get about this, other than it was really fun to do, and I really hope we can kind of get the timing to do this kind of thing again. Not just because, if there's a big announcement that comes out, you really want the site that represents you to also have that information first. Like when.
Yep.
When the news that I don't know if it's pronounced Saban or Saban Films acquired the distribution rights domestically for Jay and Silent Bob reboot, essentially, it's one of the components that it could say that production's going ahead. We've sold the rights, we've got the funding, we're moving forward. International rights are all soaked up now too.
Squared away, yeah.
So when that got out, Kevin made the announcement himself from Sundance, perfect place to do it from.
Yep.
But honestly, Smodco News did not have an article at the time, and I had to quickly.
It was
knowing how everything was. I quickly threw together a framework so that way I could hope to engage you quicker in order to do this. Which honestly, we could in some of these articles share a byline, but it's more important to me that the news story gets produced,
it's out,
and it's also important to me that somebody that actually has. Earned their bones in writing, because you have had to. Well, you've had to write like press releases. And the like,
right.
You've had to have things that are submitted to the wire. So there is, and you've actually taken journalism courses. I don't even know what an inverted pyramid is. So.
No, but you're right, and that's again, I think that's the important part for me, at least, in the hopes for the organization that. Whether or not it's getting to people or not is one thing, but more important that there is a place that people can get accurate information about things.
Yeah.
Right. So that if there is an official like statement or position or things that we want, the organization wants out there, there's a spot for it, and it's done well, and it's not speculative.
Well, yeah, exactly. It's telling the story we want told. It's not someone's interpretation of the press release or what have you. We're not going to put something out and then have to do a correction because we're coming straight from the well, right?
Yeah.
We know how crappy the water is. We know that somebody saw a squirrel fall in there and it hasn't come out. We know the water's tainted, but we're gonna present the water whatever way we want. That's a horrible analogy. Why are you letting me continue?
It's so like people are dipping their taints in it.
No, I said a squirrel. I was trying to paint
tainted
this weird
water?
picture where
Like if the water is taint flavored. Could we sell that?
No.
I think taint flavored water would sell just to the right audience.
Maybe from vending machines in Japan.
Yeah. The last thing, Will, before we go,
Okay.
you may, if in any of your interactions, you may want to let Ming Chen know that Google Plus will start deleting users' data on April 2nd. And he is still to date the only person I ever get notifications from on Google Plus.
Actually, you know what? There's a tech spin on this that I could give you.
Okay.
As one of the last holdout glass holes.
Sure.
I can tell you that one interesting aspect, because I think every once in a while I'll Google Glass on Google. That's a lot of Google.
That's a lot of Google to Google.
Right. But every once in a while I'll look at it in the news, and one of the things, somebody recently did a report that, Google Glass isn't dead. It still kind of has a second life limping along, and they were even noting a particular Reddit subgroup on it. But then I realized something, and then the article even pointed this out. Like, there are people that are still buying these things for probably $400 or $500 on eBay, But one of the prerequisites for functionality for your Google Glass is having a Google Plus account.
Oh, uh-huh.
So, that is, I think the explorers still walking around, or the sub-explorers that have bought their way into it and along the way, I wonder if they're going to start to encounter issues now, because you can't even sign up or authenticate, because, like you said, April 7th, that's the last day that Google Plus will exist, which is no surprise. You know the reason why they've shut the doors on that, other than the fact that nobody's using it.
There was a flaw in the platform itself that was leaking data, and then after they found it, there was another huge leak after that even. And so I mean, the last day anyone will be able to sign up for it, I believe, will be February 4th, and then they're just gonna start deleting data off of it starting April 2nd.
Yeah, let it go, folks. Just let it go.
So,
I don't have anything there that I need to.
I don't think I do. It's been years since I logged in, and I probably don't want to know what's on there.
Yeah, I think. Well, actually, you know what? I probably should look, only because
photos
pictures and videos that I've taken through Google
from Glass,
which
that might be good.
Which, by the way, I did. My final Google Glass finally died, and the only one, the only one that would still work is one that had been foiled. And I don't mean that those kids came along with their dog and screwed up their plans to scare people away and get the treasures out of the mine. The piece of refractory material on the end, the reflection piece, just is gone. Now, there's a way to repair it, but it's kind of squishy, and I don't like it. So
gross.
But that finally got me to stop using Google Glass. I still, as a parent, I still say that having some type of device where you can wear the camera on your face and quickly and easily record is one of the greatest things in the world.
I can imagine. Yeah.
And I know from CES, every year at CES, there seems to be another announced heir apparent to the Google Glass world. And the latest one, I don't even remember the name of the people that make it, but it is a type of AR experience. I don't know if it had a camera involved, but instead of, and this is the one that always sounds scary when you hear it, instead of it being something that displays on the glass, I believe it actually projects into your eye. So it has a little array there, so that way you're seeing it as though it were on the glass. Maybe I might be wrong. I have to go back and look at that.
Out.
I know,
I'll
right?
never have LASIK.
Yeah, I know. Well, I don't blame you there. I've seen procedures to get it. No,
you smell your eye cooking, Will. They don't put you out for it. You smell your eye cooking with a frickin' laser beam, man. Not happening. I'll wear glasses till I die.
I'm with you. By the way, let me just say this. I think on the last episode, I don't know if I can find it fast enough, I mentioned that my brother-in-law started listening, right? And I got the most awesome reply. So last episode, I made a mention that we were talking about how awesome the Far From Home trailer was. And I'm like, was that Maria Hill with Nick Fury? And actually, he brings up, no, I think it's Sharon Carter, because whoever it is, it's blonde hair pulled back.
Sure. Okay, that would make more sense.
Which I have to say would be nice, because it would be very nice to see Sharon Carter actually played as a character instead of just an aside and an exposition point for Captain America, right?
Yep, agreed.
Not to mention awkward love interest. But he mentioned, thanks for the shove out. And then he, in commenting, because my favorite thing about us doing this is being able to, at times, as often as I can, pull the show title from one of the more suggestive things that you've said. And last episode, I believe it was titled something like holding a hot dog in your hand.
Yes.
And his response was, thanks for the shout out. Love having my hot dog in my hand.
Of course. Yep.
So anyway, special shout out to Matt again. There's a little child that has infiltrated the studio who is probably going to tell me it's time to go. So,
Daddy, I need to be put to bed.
No, it's not even that, because I'm a horrible parent. There she is. Oh, say hi, Blair. Hi. Okay, the whole world is seeing you now. Duck back out of screen. Well, we're going to wrap up then now, because it's time to go be a dad again, Trent.
Yes, and I'm going to go be
a dog dad.
And it'd be a dog dad and fold more laundry and make more potatoes.
Yeah, so you're still doing that. It's still all
it's still all week. This is a lifestyle, my friend.
You're just So basically, you're doing thank you, honey. You're doing a 5-day potato hack, and then on the weekends is it meals?
And then dinner. I'll do like Friday night dinner and Saturday night dinner, and yeah, that's not potato based.
She did just deliver the message. Mommy wants you out now. Okay.
Yes, understood.
Understood. So anyway, folks, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you very much for watching or listening or however you do take us into your ears or eyes. We always appreciate it. I am always appreciative that there are people out there that want to listen to me basically talk to a guy who randomly called me back in 2010, and it's become, honestly, one of my best friends in this world, regardless of how often we do talk or not.
I agree.
So thank you very much for joining us. Don't forget, the time it travels, man.
Whoa.
Anyway, folks, as always, if you want to follow us on Twitter, I'm NetheadWW. He is a part of him. The show is NetHeads on Air. Patreon.com/NetHeads on Air. And until next time, Trent, we'll be back
soon.
It would really help if I had the audio soundboard up when I do that. I'm just saying.
This is NetHeads with Will Wilkins and Trent Hunsaker. Signing off. I know, right? But stop being a little Nancy and deal with it. NetHeads. We'll be back soon.
Goodbye.
This has been a production of Smodco Internet Radio. Sir, only at smodcast.com.
When my daughter comes in letting me know that my wife says it's time to be done, I often think of the scene at the near the end of Goonies when the Fratelli brothers are fighting with their own brother Sloth. They've got him wrapped up with a rope, and he then rips open his shirt and reveals the Superman T-shirt he's wearing underneath. And the one Fratelli just looks up at the other and says, "We're in deep shit now, Francis."